In this video, we'll be talking about model evaluation and the concept of splits. But before we talk about both of these, we have to first do a bit of review on model training. Recall that our task is to capture patterns observed from a sample. To do that, we use models, depending on the type of variables we're trying to learn. In previous videos, we proved how this model can capture the general pattern, which in turn can be used for inference to make predictions on new data. What we didn't mention, however, is how can you tell if your choice of model is a good one, or if your regularization constraints actually produced a good model? Well, for that we have to learn how to evaluate our models. To know what evaluation actually means, let's start with regression models. So suppose we wanted to design a model that captures the relationship between house sizes and their prices in California, but we only had a budget of $100. So we hired a research firm and they sampled 10 houses randomly from California and provided us with their sizes and their closing price. If we plot this data on a graph, we know it will look linear, and we also know how to fit a linear regression model to it. But to test this model's performance, we need two things. First are houses that the model hasn't seen before. This is important because otherwise you can't tell if a model performed well or just memorized the answer. The second thing we need is the actual prices of these new homes. In other words, we need houses from the past that were already sold. The bad news is that we're out of budget, so we can't really conduct another random sampling. But the good news is that these two conditions can be met if we just modify our initial sample. So suppose instead of dumping our whole precious sample to the model at once for training, we instead provide him only with 80% of it. In other words, we'll use 8 houses for training. We call this the training data and hide the other 2 for later. These 2 houses are called the testing data. Now we'll use the standard linear regression model. The computer will use ordinary least squares to find the best one. Previously, we moved to inference after this step, but now we have another step we have to perform in between, evaluation. So because the model was trained on these 8 houses, we can get rid of this training data and bring the testing data saved from earlier. And because we know the true prices of these house sizes, we say that if we provided the model with that exact size, we expect him to predict a value that is closer to the true value to be a good model. The difference is what we called errors, or residuals. So to measure the overall performance of this model, we'll have to use certain metrics. The most famous ones are the root mean squared error and the R-squared score. The root mean squared error measures the average distance between your predictions and the true values in actual units. It tells us on average how far off our predictions are from the actual values. On the other hand, the R-squared measures the percentage of the data's variability captured by the model, which takes a value between 0 and 1. So a model that follows the true pattern will have a high R-squared. In contrast, a model that misses the pattern entirely will have a near 0 R-squared. Because of this, we're looking for a model that has both a high R-squared and a low root mean squared error. To see why, suppose we trained a new model on a sample from the luxury houses population, then tried to test it on this testing data. This model will have a high R-squared, but will also have a high root mean squared error if taken to production for inference. Our predictions will be off by a measure of hundreds of thousands of dollars. On the other hand, if we trained another model on a sample of the average houses population, then test its performance on this testing data, the model will have a low overall root mean squared error, which is a good thing, but will in turn have a low R-squared value as well because it hasn't captured the overall variability. As a result, both of these models are considered bad models and should not be taken for production for inference or generative tasks. Before we end this video, there are some important notes we have to go through. The choice of the sample split is usually problem dependent, but oftentimes we use the 80-20 cutoff, meaning we train on 80%, then test on 20%. This notion will change once we get to cross-validation, so bear with me. The second note is regarding the model terminology. Model could either refer to an inner submodel within our model space, or it could refer to general models like support vector machines, k-nearest neighbors, and others alike. Because of this, when you are testing your model performance, you have 3 choices to make. You can either test it against other submodels from the same family after you limit the number of submodels using regularization techniques, Or you can test it against other general models, like testing linear regression against support vector machines. Or finally, you can test numerous submodels from every family of models to come up with the best model, which you can then take for production to perform inference or generative tasks. The final note is regarding the topic of evaluation altogether. It is usually supplemented with cross-validation because of a major problem regarding the splitting process, which we'll discuss in upcoming videos. We'll end this video here. Make sure to visit our website for more practice questions. You will also find other animated courses there. Thank you for watching.